But just discovered this story here that we're going to get into. Jamie Lee Curtis posted to her Instagram. We'll just pull it up here. She posted this. She did not provide any caption, but she just said this image here that says, "I will say gay and I will protect trans kids." So this is from Jamie Lee Curtis. You might know her as the actress in Halloween series, True Lies. She was also in Freaky Friday, a Disney movie, which I guess they're going to do a sequel to as well. So not surprising that she got that. And it's also really not surprising either that she would post this. If we pull up this article here, she does have a history of kind of doing this, mainly because her own son is claiming to be a girl, and she is now referring to her son as her daughter. Something that she should not be doing. She's buying into kind of this false sense of charity, a lie here. But let's pull up this article here, and we can kind of go over a little bit more of her history with the stuff. She really kind of talked about it a lot with this interview with People back in like October 2021, where she discussed some things. So if you scroll down here, I think that's from Halloween Kills, that image there. If we keep scrolling down, we'll get to the People stuff. So there's the Instagram post. So here, this is back in 20 right there. This is 2021. She's talking to AARP, so she's trying to push this to all the boomers. Yep, all the boomers and the seniors. Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I mean, the propaganda is nonstop. It gets pushed everywhere. They're pushing it to everyone. I mean, and they're using Jamie Lee Curtis as a vehicle to push it to boomer seniors. I guess there's still some. What's the generation before the boomers? The greatest generation. Obviously, there's still some of those. It's silent generation, and then I guess there's probably still some greatest generation out there as well. But in this interview with AARP, she said that she and her husband Christopher Guest, quote, have watched in wonder and pride as our son became our daughter Ruby, and she and her fiance will get married next year at a wedding that I will officiate. So there's all kinds of problems there. Like she's not a priest, she shouldn't be officiating a wedding. And then her son clearly cannot become a woman. But this is really a lot of stuff here that we get into. This is People, October 21. She was talking about her son Tom, who she's now calling Ruby. And she says,
"Really? It didn't even go with Tommy Ann? Come on."
It's learning new terminology and words. I am new at it. I am not someone who is pretending to know much about it, and I'm going to blow it. I'm going to make mistakes. I would like to try to avoid making big mistakes. She's clearly made a massive mistake by actually endorsing her son's mental illness. Her son's, maybe it might not be a mental illness, it might not be gender dysphoria. It's clearly her son's problems, though, that have manifested within this transgender ideology, the idea that men can become women and women can become men. But nevertheless, Curtis goes on and says, you slow your speech down a little. You become a little more mindful about what you're saying, how you're saying it. You still mess up. I've messed up today twice. We're human. But if one person reads this, sees a picture of Ruby and me and says, I feel free to say this is who I am, then it's worth it. No, it's not. You're clearly leading people astray. This is absolutely wrong. This is evil. That you should not be doing this. This is the opposite of what you should be doing. You should not be leading people astray. You should be leading them to the truth, to the good, to God. You should not be leading them to try and think that it's okay to mutilate your body. Yeah, what you got?
Jamie Lee Curtis, though.
You can't handle the truth.
Yes, that's right. That was a request I put in last week. Glad that we got that up. She can't. She clearly can't handle the truth, and she's not willing to impart that truth to her son. Cannot do that. So while speaking to the outlet alongside her son Tom, Curtis said, when Ruby just said her dead name, so there's like an interview with Tom, Jamie Lee Curtis, and People, and Tom uses his real name at one point in the interview. So this is where she's kind of referring to here. When Ruby just said her dead name, her real name, I haven't ever heard her say that name. It so doesn't fit anymore. That was, of course, the hardest thing, just the regularity of the word, the name that you'd given a child and that you've been saying their whole life. And so, of course, at first that was the challenge. Then the pronoun, my husband and I still slip occasionally. because you're not slipping occasionally. You're slipping because you are rejecting the truth. You're lying to your son about all of this. But Curtis goes on and says, I think that's sort of evolutionary and a very important step in our home. We have tried to maintain it in a big way. I'm learning a lot from Ruby.
Wow.
I knew, and then she goes on and kind of recalls why she thinks that clearly that Tom can become Ruby. She says, I knew Ruby had a boyfriend. I knew that Ruby had used the word bi, but gender identity and sexual orientation, those are two separate things. And I knew that Ruby played female avatars in video games. But when you asked, did you have an inkling that Ruby was trans? I would say no. But when I replayed Ruby's life, I went, those. No, that is an impossibility. Her trying to lend credence to it is again, her lying to herself and her simply unable to face the truth. She's unable to handle the truth as as we just saw from that clip.
If a young man is playing a video game with a female avatar, that means he's transsexual? Because I always thought that meant you wanted to spend hours staring at a woman's butt instead of a man's butt as you travel across the map in third person. That was my thinking when I did it. I wasn't like, ooh, what's it like to be a sorceress? I was like, ooh, what's it like to chase after a sorceress's buttocks for 14 hours?
I don't know. It depends. I remember Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft was releasing stuff on Assassin's Creed for Odyssey, where you had the choice to play as the male or female character. And they were really surprised that most men actually chose playing the male characters. Obviously, there were some men that did choose the female characters and stuff like that. But I do think for the most part, people do usually tend to choose the characters that are their same sex. So, but yeah, I don't think that playing a female video game character has anything to do with transgender. But I think she's kind of trying to talk that in context here. Regardless, she's still trying to lie to herself and reject the truth. And she says here, she explained why she chose to endorse the lie. She says, I'm not proselytizing and I'm not trying to force feed something to people. I'm simply saying this is our family's experience. I'm here to support Ruby. That is my job, just as it is to care and love and support her older sister, Annie, in her journeys. I'm a grateful student. I'm learning so much from Ruby. Conversation is ongoing, but I want to know how can I do this better? And that's actually a really good question because we do have an answer, and it's provided by Bishop Michael Burbidge that are good friends. What are they called? I don't even know, the Fandom Initiative or something like that. Really don't like him. Really don't like His Excellency. He does have an answer for Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh, so this is just kind of going on. She's referencing her son as a daughter in her most recent Best Supporting Actress win at the 95th Oscars. I think that was like just this past March. So she's continuing like to double down on the line. But Bishop Michael Burbidge here, he has I didn't link it. I'll have to go back and fix that. Usually I link the whole letter. But he has a really great letter. It's called A Catechesis on the Human Person and Gender Ideology. And he explains here, those asserting a transgender identity and or seeking to transition often adopt new names and pronouns that reflect their desired identity and insist that others must use the chosen names and pronouns, which clearly Tom is doing for Jamie Lee Curtis, as we just read, she's trying to do. Such use might seem innocuous and even appear to be an innocent way of signaling love and acceptance of a person. In reality, however, it presents a profound crisis. We can never say something contrary to what we know to be true. To use names and pronouns that contradict the person's God-given identity is to speak falsely, aka it is to lie. So Bishop Burbidge goes on and says, he's like, I can't say it any better than that. I mean, he does an excellent explanation of this. That's why I cite him all the time. He is a moral authority on this. He is a bishop in the Catholic Diocese of Arlington. He is my personal bishop where I live now. So that's why I cite him quite often. And again, I can't explain it any better than he does here. He goes on and says, the faithful should avoid using gender-affirming terms or pronouns that convey approval of or reinforce the person's rejection of the truth, which is what they're doing. It is not harsh or judgmental to decline to use such language. It is not harsh. It is not judgmental because you're not embracing a lie.
And you're an American.
Right. In the broader culture, Catholics may experience significant pressure to adopt culturally approved terminology. We're clearly seeing that. Jamie Lee Curtis is admitting to seeing that. We see this all over. We've seen it with Gina Carano, with Pedro Pascal was kind of trying to get her on board. They tried to grief session Gina Carano at the Walt Disney World. We see them trying. The Walt Disney World is now like taking, or I guess the whole Walt Disney Company is taking massive issue with the fact they weren't able to like educate people in kindergarten through third grade in this, and now they've basically decided to implode their own company over this. So we're seeing that. I mean, it's across the board. It's everywhere. It's coming from our government. We literally have the president of the United States has installed a man pretending to be a woman as some kind of like health official from like the Navy or something like that. So we've got this is coming everywhere. Corporations, government, tons of institutions. They're trying to push this and everywhere they can. So there's extreme pressure to adopt this. We must stand firm. We must oppose this. We cannot allow them to try and sell us a lie as the truth, because it is indeed a lie. And Bishop Burbridge says, rightfully so here, he says, however, in no circumstances should anyone be compelled to use language contrary to the truth. The right to speak the truth inheres in the human person. It cannot be taken away by any human institution. So we have that right to speak the truth, and it doesn't matter what someone tries to do to us. They cannot take that away from us. He says here, attempts by the state, corporations, or employers to compel such language, particularly by threats of legal action or job loss, are unjust. Indeed, they are. They are 100% unjust. We must love in the truth, and truth must be accurately conveyed by our words. At the same time, clarity must always be at the service of charity as part of a broader desire to move people towards the fullness of truth. I think there's a little misspelling there. 2 L's. So again, Bishop Burbridge, 100% on point here. And I agree. Twilight here has an excellent, if men would step up, I think we're seeing this with Bud Light. Men would step up and tell these people to stop this nonsense. I 100% agree. It is our responsibility.
Miller Lite stepped in it now.
I saw that too. It is our responsibility as men to step up and say no to this stuff. I think that is one of the biggest issues plaguing our society, is that we have a bunch of people in charge of our country that are extremely weak. They don't have any courage or backbone, especially when it comes to moral issues. And they've basically kowtowed, bent over, are kneeling at the feet of the world and of these worldly ideologies, and don't have the willingness, courage, again, moral fiber, moral strength to stand up and say no, even if there are extreme consequences.